My name is Pete Haydock. I am your host. We are the producers of the Maker Faire Milwaukee. We're here at Milwaukee School of Engineering. Um, Really, today is our education day, which we're doing completely virtual. And then tomorrow and Sunday, we are open at MSOE at 4 different places across the campus. So hopefully all of you can join us and come down to MSOE and see. We've got 100, more than 100 makers, and we've got a lot of different kinds of makers here. And one of our groups is the Army ROTC, and they are one of our sponsors for the Maker Faire. We welcome their sponsorship, and we're proud to host them today for a Meet the Maker, kind of a lightning talk. And so we have Ruben, who is part of the ROTC. There we go, waving for us. And I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce yourself and share with our students and our the rest of our audience. We are recording this, so it will be live or back on up on our YouTube channel and the website about a week. So, Ruben, take it away.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Peter. Yeah, so I am Ruben Sotolongo, the Scholarship and Enrollment Advisor in the Southeast Wisconsin area. So there's a few of us throughout the whole state of Wisconsin. So I'm representing Army ROTC as a whole, as well as, because this is right here in Southeast Wisconsin, I'm talking this piece as well. So if there are generic ROTC questions, great. They're specific to schools. I'll answer it as best as I can. If it's one of my schools, we'll be all right. If it's one of the other schools across the state or different states, then be able to help out as best as I can. With me is also, we have Nathan Lindroth there in the back, waving, right? He's about to graduate. He's an engineer that is graduating this December. And so in between the two of us, we'll be able to help answer any of those questions as you're either, a high school student or middle school student, advisor at a school, or a parent or guardian or something like that. So not many slides because I want to open it up more to questions. So I'll go to slide here and we'll go to the next slide. All right, so just to give an idea of sort of what does the typical, well, first I'll start with what ROTC is, right? So ROTC stands for Reserve Officer Training Corps. And what that is it's a leadership development program that allows full-time college students, whether it's undergrad, grad school, professional studies, as we have some of those folks as well. So you got to be a full-time college student, and you can supplement it with this leadership development program. So in this is the Army ROTC leadership program that we're talking about here. So when someone wants to graduate, college, or someone is already in the Army and they want to be an officer, or they are an officer, to be able to be an officer, you have to have at a minimum that bachelor's degree through ROTC. Okay, so with that, the curriculum and how it looks and what it looks like is right here on a weekly basis. So that's what I'm going to first talk a little bit about, is so you have an idea of what it is and what does it look like. So on the weekly basis, you'll typically see in that first block there, Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, there's physical training. Okay, so depending on the ROTC program that you're a part of, it'll be anywhere from 2 to 4 times a week. We do it 3 days a week. Okay, and we work out in the morning. We get it. There's something about, right, the science there, waking up, working out, and it helps you stay sharp. So when you get after going to your classes, you're not waking up at 7:50 and rolling out of bed and in your pajamas, as you'll see in college campuses and students, and a lot of them don't even make their 8 a.m. class. So it's funny, they're not all there, right? Here in this case, you're waking up, you're getting a workout in, and then you're showing up to that 8 o'clock class, or you're going to breakfast and then showering, and some of those things. Okay, then you have on Fridays, and this is again with us and how sort of our rhythm, our weekly rhythm is the leadership lab is in the mornings. Some programs are in the afternoon. So we do it Friday morning, 6 in the morning to 7:50. That leadership lab is hands-on training that we're doing on campus or at a local park. So that allows students to not just learn about it in the classroom, which right now you see is listed on Mondays, 8 or 11 a.m. So you'll learn things in the classroom, but the kinetic piece of it, the kinetic learning, the hands-on piece, that's what's done on Fridays at the leadership labs. So it's really cool because we'll have high school students, juniors and seniors, got to be 16 and older. We do something called Shadow a Cadet Day. And what that does is it allows high school students to shadow one of our cadets, either if it's an overnight thing, Thursday to Friday, or if it's, a full day thing. Like this year we're doing it where it's a full day on Friday. You get to experience the leadership lab and then go to some college classes and things like that. So that's what that looks like. Sometimes people ask, well, what is it that's talked about, or what is it that's discussed during the leadership lab? And that could be anything like tactics, medical, land navigation, leadership, particularly for the juniors. Okay, so some sophomores will get some of that, but you get to see it from the junior perspective. What does it mean to be in charge of maybe 7 to 9 people? Okay, and that's what we call a squad. So it's various things that are getting covered during that time. And then during that class, that Monday, 8 to 8:50 or 11 to 11:50. Again, all these things are done on campus. Okay, depending on what school you go to, it's either your campus or it's a nearby campus. But regardless, it's done at a college campus. You're not going to an Army base somewhere or an Army installation or anything like that. So classroom stuff, you'll learn things like customs and courtesies, some of the culture about the Army, saluting, rank, right? Some of those things. But then you'll also learn college things like nutrition, and that's just life skills. You'll learn about time management and some of those things. So again, that's what a typical week looks like. It's those three things there: physical training, the leadership lab, and then the classroom portion. Okay, so you have that. Then one of the other things that happens, and this is on a semester basis, is what we call field training exercise. Okay, that field training exercise is done again once a semester. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and in that case, for the most part, you're going to some kind of Army base or fort or somewhere to do overnight training. So it's from Thursday to Sunday, and a lot of these things are now getting reinforced, where in the leadership lab you only have about 2 hours. Here we have multiple days to be able to do obstacle courses, go out and really experience land navigation outside. Here in Milwaukee, we're in the city, so sometimes it could be tough to get some repetition on land navigation. So we have that, firing weapons, things like that. We're able to do get everybody through that, freshmen through juniors, really, because the seniors are the ones running the training and the plan along with the staff and the cadre. So yeah, the 4 days, you're doing that once a semester. Okay, so you got that. And then you have one other thing over the summer, and that's called advanced camp. And that happens between somebody's junior and senior year of college. And that's like the Super Bowl for cadets. They are going there to get evaluated. So now at this point, you're not learning really so much anymore. All the learning takes place while you're on campus and you're doing that field training exercise, the 4 days each semester. Advanced camp is now the culminating event that you're getting evaluated on, and it helps determine, depending on how you perform there and how your evaluation goes, it helps determine what job you're going to do in the Army. So it's one key component of many components. Another component is your physical fitness. Another component is your GPA. extracurriculars that you participate on campus, in and out of ROTC. So a bunch of different things that help determine your job that you're going to do in the Army. So covered a lot there. I'm going to have Nathan over here fill in the gaps if he's got anything that I've talked about, and then we'll kind of continue on to the next slide.
Sure. So one thing I do have to add here is some of you may be thinking, well, this doesn't, look like a whole lot, like, it's a pretty manageable schedule. And yes, you're right. And if you have other things going on, you will certainly be able to manage your time to do all of your studies. It's very manageable. And then some of you might be thinking, well, is that it? And no, that's not it. The great thing about ROTC is it's very flexible. It is what you make it. So there are a lot of extra opportunities for you to partake in that the program provides, a lot of our own extracurriculars that you might find yourself getting involved in on a weeknight or something like that, or an alternate team. So there are a lot of opportunities to get involved there. And while you may find yourself becoming a busier cadet or a student, you'll also see yourself really becoming a stronger cadet as well. A lot of those cadets who take part in a lot of those extra activities end up being very strong as well. So I just wanted to clear that up as well, that it's a very manageable schedule, especially what you're seeing right now, but it's also what you make it, and there are more opportunities available as well. So it's very manageable.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks. And one of the things too is it doesn't matter what you major in, right? As long as you're pursuing a 4-year degree, at the minimum there, English, psychology, engineer. I mean, it can be a STEM, it could be non-STEM. Like it doesn't really matter. In this case, obviously, we're in the STEM field. So if that's something you want to pursue, awesome, great. If you decide to change your major, awesome, great, right? So there are tons of opportunities when it comes to majors, and the stuff I'm showing you here, right? This is the freshman schedule, and this is the bare minimum. So there are plenty, as Nathan said, there are plenty of opportunities to get more involved. It just depends on your ROTC program. Like the ROTC program I went to many years ago had color guard and Ranger Challenge. That was about it. We have that here within our program here at Marquette and some of our other partnership schools, MSOE, UW Milwaukee, Concordia, and UW Parkside. We have those, as well as many more. Cadet choir, service committee, basketball over at Notre Dame, where we compete in a tournament over there, Ranger Buddy at University of Kansas. So I mean, there are tons and tons of other opportunities that are available. It's just going to depend on the ROTC program that you are a part of. Okay, so I'm gonna put up the frequently asked questions. You can kind of take a look at those if you want, but really, as I showed you the schedule, I'll have you kind of look at the last one there. It says, as a freshman, that last question all the way down at the bottom. Hey, what's my time commitment like? And as a freshman, it's about an 8 to 10 hour a week commitment. And then from there, it only gets more as you get into your sophomore year, 10 to 12 hours. And then as a junior and senior, it's at least 12 hours. It just kind of depends on your leadership role, at the time. So just so you have an idea with that. But with that, yeah, I want to open it up to questions. There are scholarships. There's different ways to kind of process and do, scholarships. It depends on if you're a high school. Really, the earliest time is summer before your high school senior year. From that time, so if you're a senior now, you're in that window from now up until February is when you're wanting to submit that application. But I work with folks that are in or interested in the Army Reserve or the Army National Guard and maybe ROTC, as well as people that just want ROTC by itself. So there's a combination there. Anything Army, you can absolutely ask, and then I can fill in the gaps and help you out. So yeah, any questions? We can go ahead and answer any of those.
Ruben, thank you very much for presenting it. It really provides a great opportunity for us to learn about the ROTC. One of my best friends from high school went through ROTC at University of Minnesota and spent 20 years in the reserve. as his commitment. It was a great opportunity, and now he does IT work for the government and has all sorts of clearances. So
Yeah.
the Army prepared him, technically, but also gave him some extra benefits for the security clearances that he could do some heavy computer work in the government. So we thank you for your service and your commitment here from the Maker Faire. We do have some questions coming in. You mentioned scholarships and kind of the support for going to school. Can you talk a little bit about what the ROTC helps with in terms of scholarships, especially in the schools in this area, MSOE, UW Milwaukee, and the like?
Sure. Yeah, the cool thing about the Army and the Navy is similar in this, so it's good information to just know. All Army and Navy scholarships cover 100% of tuition and fees. Okay, so
Wow,
it
100%.
really, yeah, regardless of if it's a state school, private school, in-state, out-of-state, doesn't matter. The question is going to be, well, how many years do you have the scholarship for? Is it 2 year, 2.5, 3.5, right? So 4 year, right? So it's that sort of stuff that students are competing for. So through the high school process, they're competing for 3 and 4 year scholarships. So if you earn a 4 year at MSOE, that's 100% of tuition and fees at MSOE that the Army's saying we're paying and we're covering. And it doesn't change somebody's service obligation. So whether someone goes to a private school or a state school, the service obligation, the commitment after college when you graduate is still going to be the same. The question there is, are you going active duty, full-time Army, or are you going into the Reserve or the National Guard after college, which is part-time? So yeah, that's what some students absolutely know they want to go active duty. Others are unsure, and then you have others that absolutely want to go part-time and have a full-time civilian job. They want to be a teacher, an educator. They want to be an engineer. They want to do something, in what they majored in full-time, and then do the Army part-time, 1 weekend a month sort of thing. Okay, so
Wow.
with that, I didn't on the Air Force side, they have 100% of tuition and fees, but they also have other types of scholarships. They have type 1, type 2, and type 7. So it's just one of those things to make sure as students you're looking and trying to figure out which way you want to go. Just know, right, all Army scholarships are 100%.
Amazing. I didn't know that. That was a great question from our audience. Second question that came in is to talk about the size of the program here I am assuming here in Southeast Wisconsin.
Yeah.
How many ROTC say people are in the program?
Sure. So we have over 90, and it depends on the given year. So before COVID, we had around 100 and we'd fluctuate between 110 and 120 something. Okay, so post COVID and some of the things there, we went down, and now we're just over 90. And that's across all our campuses. We have the most amount of cadets at Marquette, and then UWM, and then MSOE. Okay, and then Parkside, and then Concordia for a handful there. But yeah.
The next question actually is my question. What motivated you to join the ROTC, and now that you're making a career out of this? What motivated you to join the Army and go through the ROTC?
Sure. So I'll say my piece, and then I'll let Nathan say his piece as he's about to graduate, and he can kind of talk sort of what drove him there. For me, I'm a little bit different. I graduated. I went to a community college, and as I was working full time, going to this community college and volunteering, I'm like, I want to serve my state, my city, my country. I want to serve in some way. I want to have a purpose outside of myself. I want to contribute to others and the benefit there. So for me, it wasn't specifically it needed to be the Army, but it happens to be as I started to learn more about those opportunities, then I ended up seeing like, okay, all right, there's these 2 private schools that I am looking at and I'm interested in going to, and I wouldn't have gone to those private school or that private school if it wasn't for, 3-year scholarship. I would have probably just went to a state school and did ROTC at a state school. So that opportunity was there. So super excited to serve, not only, as getting, doing ROTC but then afterwards as well. So I'm no longer in anymore. I met my commitment, and now I'm just a mister. I'm a civilian, and I do this job as a civilian. But I loved it, and I'm glad I did it. And it's one of those things, like the things like when I first started out as a sophomore to then when I graduated as a senior, the leadership that I gained and the confidence and me getting to know myself and how much power we have individually to really affect change, all of that came through ROTC. So yeah, it's crazy to see where my peers were at in graduating college and see kind of where I was at and where I was ready to lead. And not that I had all the answers, but that I was ready to lead. And then the rest is history. So yeah.
Great.
Nathan, I'm going to turn it over to him.
Sure. So my experience and why I joined ROTC really just spawned at the end of my high school career with a very deep desire to serve. I wasn't sure what that path looked like, but also I knew that I wanted to get my college education. And as I started to explore avenues, just learning more about the ROTC program and how it's so obviously closely interlinked, right? Obtaining your education while training to serve in, my case in the Army after college just seemed like a really great deal, especially since ROTC helps you obtain your education by putting you on a scholarship if that's the route you're going for. So that was obviously great. It was like two birds with one stone. Obviously just a deep desire to serve as well as obtain my education, but also a great note that Mr. Solongo pointed out was also just growing in my own leadership abilities. That's something that I really wanted to do as well. It's a great leadership program ultimately. So the great thing about the applications process is that you're asked not only about your strengths, but your weaknesses, and that's just continuously worked on throughout our OTC. It's in the Army culture, is that we're constantly pushing to improve our weaknesses as well. So just seeing how I've developed in that area as well has been really great. So all of those areas, my education, my desire to serve, as well as improving my own leadership skills is something that really fueled my desire on my track with ROTC.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thanks. I know when I think about some of that too, is the guaranteed job after college, or I thought about, for me was having the healthcare. So those are things you don't necessarily, I didn't think about that in high school, but working full time and going to the community college, I was like, wow, I need to have some healthcare, even if it's decent. And the Army did provide that. Because I served part-time, I didn't go full-time, so it provided good health insurance and vision and dental and all of that. So things you may not think about in high school, but you'll think about when you're in the working force,
Really.
in college, or if you decide not to go to college. But regardless, those are things you eventually think about. So yeah.
We have one more question, and before that, I want to thank you for your time and for your service. Very informative, and yes, this makes college attainable for so many more students. What the Army, all of the services are providing. The last question here is: if I transfer to a school that does not have ROTC, are you able to continue? So it sounds like they're talking about being at a school that has ROTC, but they're going to go somewhere else. There's some articulation programs that you start in one school, you go elsewhere. How can you continue?
Sure. So that's going to come down to if that ROTC program has any sort of special agreement. But for the most part, if a student is going to a school that doesn't have an ROTC agreement, then they won't be able to continue on that process. Now, there are some things like if someone starts at the technical or a community college and they start their first year or two, but then they transfer to Parkside or UW Milwaukee, if there's an agreement there, then even though the student is not at one of our 5 schools, they're at somewhere else, there is an agreement with that university. So there's some funky things that are allowed in there, and we have to look at those agreements. But outside of that, my recommendation would be you can go on the goarmy.com/ROTC website, and there it says there's a school locator, and you can locate schools by state. And when you click on the state, so you click on Wisconsin, you see all the Wisconsin schools, you'll see Marquette, and then under Marquette, you'll see our other 4 colleges and universities that are listed there. So in other people's case, if they're trying to transfer, you can always look into those other states or those other places. But unfortunately, for the most part, if you transfer and there's no partnership, then it's not going to work out. We won't be able to continue on doing that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very helpful, very informative to our audiences. We're going to edit this and put this up online, so this will be accessible through Milwaukee.makerfair.com and also the Gearbox Labs, the producer's website, and their YouTube channel. So we'll have this up and we'll share that back with you, Nathan and Ruben. We appreciate your time and your answers. I mean, really, this is amazing to know about. Thank you very much. That is it. This is the end of Meet the Makers. We will welcome all of you to come down to Milwaukee Maker Faire here at MSOE, and we thank everybody for their time and their attention. Have a good one. Thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you.